Hello, everybody. It is just around 10 o'clock in the morning, Denver Mountain Time. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're logging in from. Just want to give it a second here to have everybody dial in here for the Certified Private Wealth Advisor Certification intro webinar. All right, so we're going to kick things off here. My name is Gray Bullard. I am an enrollment counselor here at the Investments and Wealth Institute. I am joined on the call with Carrie Estes, my colleague. She's also an enrollment counselor here. I'm putting out a screenshot. Yeah, there's a great opportunity to take a screenshot here for you to capture our contact information for any questions you may have during. I strongly encourage you to use the chat feature, the Q&A feature for any questions you may have. All lines are going to be muted for this. Any questions in the Q&A, this will be recorded, so it will be sent to the email that you registered for in this program. You'll receive a recording of this a day or so after the program. And there are no CE hours for this particular program. So I just wanted to get into a little bit of the Investments and Wealth Institute and who we are. Our mission is to deliver premier investment consulting and wealth management credentials. I'm going to talk a little bit about the certifications that we offer. And of course, we're going to get into the Cpwa, or the Certified Private Wealth Advisor certification. So this is a little bit of an overview on our ecosystem, or the Institute as we call it. We have a number of conferences throughout the year that you can network with other peers and other advisors, and also it'd be a great opportunity for you to network throughout the year. We have one coming up in Canada, in Toronto, and then at the end of the year, we have one in December in New York City, all focused on wealth management and wealth planning as well. We have 3 certifications here: the Certified Investment Management Analyst certification, the Certified Private Wealth Advisor, and the RMA certification. 3 designations which are very well known in the industry. Our CIMA is our oldest designation. It's been around for over 30 years. And our Certified Private Wealth Advisor is one that we're going to talk about today a little bit for high net worth clients and advisors. So I just want to talk a little bit about our membership here. This can be found on our website. We have the members here average around 250 million in average assets under management, certainly above the industry normal, which is only around 53 million or so for other financial advisors. So more sophisticated, a lot more assets under management. And certainly this is a very niche designation, the Cpwa, which will allow you to drive those conversations with your high net worth clients. So I just wanted to compare a little bit here and contrast between other designations. You may be on the line here and say, oh, you know, I'm looking at a CIMA, I'm looking at a CFP or a CFA. Well, this is how the Cpwa fits in with some of the others. It is a planning designation, but for high net worth clients. So it is an advanced wealth management for planning strategies for high net worth individuals, asset protection, and it really focuses on a lot on tax and estate planning and legacy planning. So if that's something that you're doing with your clients on a daily basis, I would strongly suggest and highly encourage you to enroll in this program. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, obviously, the Cpwa and the program overview. And these are the 5 reasons why we really encourage the program. And these are 5 reasons why other advisors tell us why they really enjoyed the Cpwa and why they pursued it. Number 1, it's that relevant content. So it's the curriculum that you're going to study, that you're going to go through, those 11 modules that are very current and relevant in the industry. Number 2, competitive differentiation. There are thousands of advisors in the marketplace, right? Well, not all of them have the Cpwa, and not all of them focus on that content and that curriculum that's very relevant in the industry. And number 3, the higher compensation. If you're managing more assets, you're building more trust with your clients, you're going to be paid more, whether you're in a larger organization where they recognize the work that you're doing, or the fact that you have that skill set, that Cpwa information and skill set to be compensated higher. And you also have number 4, more confidence with clients. Advisors tell us that they go in and they drive those conversations with their clients. It's very relevant to what they're doing that day, and they can drive those conversations with other estate attorneys, with other sort of experts that advisors bring in to talk to their clients with. And number 5, obviously, the expert instruction. In this program, we're going to talk about Yale School of Management, and we're going to talk about Chicago Booth, both top 10 MBA programs and executive education programs that are going to bring that content to you live in a way and on demand that will allow you to prepare you to study for that exam. So we wanted to bring on a special guest today to talk more about exactly how the CPWA has helped his practice. The curriculum directly helped him prepare for the clients and the conversations that he has on a daily basis. And I just wanted to introduce Vance Barse. He is a wealth strategist and founder of Your Dedicated Fiduciary. Here's a great picture of Vance in his normal everyday wear in his suit. And I just want to introduce Vance and thank you very much for joining our call. We're really excited to have you, and we're looking forward to having you answer some questions at the end. But I wanted to ask you, what really has been useful for you from the CPWA? I think you went through Chicago Booth. That was the program you liked, the live in-person part. But there are other folks that are going to be asking about Yale as well and things like that. I just wanted to hear a little bit more from you.
Sure thing. Thank you very much, Gray. It's a pleasure to be here as always. And yes, I do in fact look like that when I wake up in the morning. That is the attire that I don. So to answer your question, all of the curriculum pursuant to the CPWA helped me tremendously, not only in bringing value to current clients, but also in positioning myself competitively with other advisors with potential clients that have requested RFPs or might be in the market for hiring an advisor with more advanced expertise than the typical retail financial advisor, if you will. And after 18 months of being inside, I thought, you know what? I really, really want to go to Chicago. I love the city. It was a fantastic experience. And in hindsight, I am just so thankful to have invested the time and resources to get the certification.
That's great. No, I think that's what, some folks have different learning preferences, whether it's on demand through videos or having that in-person component. Chicago Booth does. It still has the 4-day component after you've done that self-study. So I just also wanted to ask a little bit about how has that CPWA really made an impact, and what are some of the topics in the curriculum that you felt that you've actually used? You said most of them, but are there any sort of specific examples that you could focus in on that you talk to your clients about it? It also says in your bio that you manage about 50 families in some of their planning. Is it estate planning? Is it charitable giving and things like that?
Yeah, it's all of the above. So when I shared that it's all aspects of curriculum, I literally meant it's all aspects of curriculum.
Right.
So prior to founding Your Dedicated Fiduciary, I spent about a decade in my former career as an investment consultant to private wealth advisors all around the country. And in that role, I was able to really glean an insider's view on what many of the so-called private wealth firms do, but more importantly, don't do for their clients. And it's not a knock, it's just if a family has the need for more advanced or sophisticated planning and the family doesn't know that, they really aren't well educated to the point where they know the difference between having someone who manages a portfolio versus someone who really is an in-house, most trusted advisor who helps direct all aspects of planning. And that, of course, includes asset management with investment management, but also the tax planning, the estate planning, a lot of the risk management planning, and family dynamics. And it's interesting because we all have clients and we all believe that we're making an impact, and we are. But to really have a solidified seat at the family table, if you will, that position is earned. And having consulted financial advisors for thousands of hours of my life, I thought that I really wanted to position not only myself, but the firm in a way where our value proposition is more robust with a broader menu of services and strategies. And a typical client for us is eligible for many of the strategies, and even those that aren't eligible for things like charitable remainder trusts or intentionally defective grantor trusts or irrevocable life insurance trusts, the acronym SOUP, if you will. A lot of the human dynamics that are covered in the curriculum are so helpful because you learn how to have engaging, meaningful conversations about what is truly most important to matriarch, patriarch, or both, and really understand how to incorporate what's most important to them with the in the weeds planning such that the net impact is the best result.
That's great. I definitely heard some of the investment vehicles that were familiar from that particular program, and those are real. Those are real life scenarios where their clients are looking to transfer assets and looking for asset location in terms of putting their assets into vehicles that are a little bit more protected from that hit of taxes, generation skipping tax, and things like that. So. Yeah, that's great. We really appreciate having you on here. Let's move along here, and I'm going to get into a couple of slides and certainly pull you back in here a little bit to talk more about how as we talk more about the Booth program in particular and how that really had an impact on your learning. So moving on to the next slide here in terms of talking about how we're accredited now. The Cpwa is now an accredited certification. Our CIMA has been accredited for a number of years, but now it is accredited by the ANSI National Accreditation Board, and it means that it's a very small percentage of other designations are accredited by the ANSI Accreditation Board. So here are the two education providers that I mentioned. Yale is the fully online 100% virtual program. We have a number of advisors going through that particular program that said I want more flexibility in terms of that program where I just want to download videos. I want to have more flexibility in my schedule as opposed to, and then not having to travel anywhere and doing the Chicago booth, as I mentioned, that I currently went through last March. Vance went through it himself. He really believed that in-person component was effective for him to consolidate a lot of that information. You're going to get 100 pages, hundreds of pages of reading, and being able to condense that down into the information that you're really going to need for that final exam and what's pertinent for your practice, what is current. And Vance certainly touched on that and how it was an impact for him in learning and being able to retain a lot of that information for himself in terms of practice, passing that final exam. So here are a few dates. Next March, we do have dates coming up here. The deadline that I'll talk about a little bit later is September 30th for this March 20th to the 24th date. Those are the 4 days you'll be in Chicago, in their at their business school, going through the concepts that you've been studying for the last 4 or 5 months. And then we also have June and September dates as well if you're looking to sign up a little bit later this year or early next year. So here's that curriculum that I just discussed with Vance a little bit, and some of those topics, and charitable remainder trusts, which falls under charitable giving and endowments. But Vance, do you feel like this was a good breakout for you in terms of the exam percentage? Now, I know you didn't take this last month, but the exam percentages, the way they break out a little bit here, the first domain or the core body of knowledge, I know you probably get a little nervous when you hear that Cpwa term because it brings back such great memories for you.
That's one way of describing them. Yes. So for all of the attendees watching this, you will become very familiar with the acronym Cpwa, which is core body of knowledge. And I can't emphasize that enough. It's really important to follow the Cpwa because the diagram that you're seeing in front of you is very representative of the percentage of questions on the test that are idiosyncratic to those 4 core areas.
Yeah, no, that's great. Now I do remember when I was going through that study, 34% on tax planning, portfolio management. It's a large percentage. I mean, there's no confusion here that this is tax planning for high net worth clients. And that is a large component of what they're interested in learning about. And having you, I mean, there is tax code that you do need to read about. You don't need to be a tax accountant, but you do need to be aware of some of those things that high net worth advisors and high net worth clients are looking at, right? So that's going to be a large chunk of it. Over a third of that is going to be portfolio management and tax planning and risk management. So I'd spend some more time on that if I were you. And then legacy issues, charitable giving. What are high net worth clients thinking about? Well, they want to give money to their schools. They want to build charitable remainder trust. They may have a donor advised fund. What is that? Well, you're going to learn about it certainly as part of the curriculum here. And you're also going to learn about required minimum distributions, right? Over a certain age, you need to start distributing those. And how can you do that to a charity? With qualified charitable distributions, right? You bookmark that for your favorite charity, your church, your school, whichever one you'd like to give to. So, these are ways in which you can do it through legacy issues. And finally, 30% specialty client services. What does that mean? Well, high net worth clients tend to be successful business owners, right? How are they awarded? Well, they may have lower salaries because their salaries are taxed at high levels. Well, how are they compensated? Executive compensation, right? Incentive stock options, right? Non-qualified stock options, things like that, where they're taxed at different levels. So you want to be managing and having those conversations with those particular executives. And also we have a small percentage dedicated to retirement management. Now you may say, oh, you also have a retirement management advisor certification. Well, that dives deeper, much deeper into retirement management. This is just sort of an overview. It's about 5 or 8%. I forget the exact figure, but you're going to talk a little bit about retirement management because your clients are thinking about it. So you need to be prepared to have that discussion. So that's the curriculum. I want to get into the programs here a little bit. Again, this is Chicago Booth, the one that we've talked about, 4.5 days live and in person that Vance was involved in as well, the in-person learning. Here's the Yale program. This again, 100%. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but 100% on demand here and no in-person instruction. So here's that deadline I mentioned. We do have some openings still for the Chicago Booth program. You have basically this week to register for the March class because you're going to start studying now. You need to get ready for that March class. So that would be the next deadline for you to be aware of. I also want to talk a little bit about our foundation that we have here at the Institute. We have a newly created foundation that is providing scholarship or tuition assistance. And not unlike any other higher ed or graduate program you would be involved in or undergraduate, $7,200 may seem like a big number for a lot of folks and want to offset that tuition. Well, you can apply to our scholarship and look at who's eligible. The bullet points there on that left slide there, that will provide you with some of the folks that are eligible for this scholarship. And I would certainly apply. The worst thing they can say is no, right? So have a look at that. Take a screenshot of that foundation scholarship link there. And I would certainly please apply to the scholarship before you enroll for the CPWA, because if you are awarded funds, you would be provided a discount code to use when you do enroll. And any questions on any of this, please call me or Carrie, and we can help you through that. So again, just application process. Number one, I should say even before number one, apply for the scholarship if it applies to you. Then number one, apply online. It takes 20 minutes to go through the application. There's the website. You create an account. You get an IWI ID that Vance certainly has to maintain your continuing education as you go forward. Okay. Once you get through all of this, the executive education, your self-study, this is a good thing to think about here. 100 to 250 hours of study. I don't know, Vance, would you say that that's indicative of what you were studying? Did it take you 300 hours? Did it take you 50 hours? I don't know.
As a man who is happily married with 2 very young children, I'm going to go, it took me a little more than the 250 hours. However, I will share that it was a webinar just like this one that really impressed upon me the need to outline core study blocks. So cell phone was turned off, email was turned off. I was very lucky that my wife was able to watch the kids on Saturdays and Sundays for the first 4 to 5 hours of the day. And I just made it my raison d'etre to study for this exam. I would say for most folks who are really familiar with financial planning concepts, that 200 to 250 is a fair estimate, if you will. And for those that might have very, very busy lives with clients to serve, planes to fly on, and conferences to speak at, they might need a little additional time simply because you need to kind of get a refresher as time evolves. But yes.
Right. Well, I'm glad that was representative for you. And that, per hour a week is a big number too. Stay on track with that. 10 to 15 hours per week, whether it's after work or, early in the weekends when, now it's the fall. If you're studying now and you're, sports fan, get your studying done out, get it out of the way so you can focus time with your family on the weekends. Do it maybe early in the morning or late at night, whatever works for you, but really focus on that.
Hey, Gray.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for folks to consider when they learn best. If you are a morning person and that's when your brain is most active and receptive to retaining information, it's probably best to structure your study time around that. Some folks are night owls, right? And they want to get their work done during the day, have dinner, and then their brain is most active at night. It's really important to know your general makeup so that you can maximize study time, because in my 40s, let's just say it's a little different than when I was in college, right? Life is in session and there are a lot of demands on our time. So it's really important to have a structured schedule that works for you so that you can maximize study time.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we all learn differently. And whether, at night, if you get tired, it might be better in the morning to do the heavy lifting in the morning. Just as long as you're focused and really sort of independent from work. Because if you're, if it's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, you may be taking calls and emails. That's probably not the best time to do it. Lunch, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's time for you to kind of relax a little bit and get back into the afternoon. It's just determine what's best for you. That's the real message here. Okay, number 4, their exam, right? 4 hours. So you need to build some stamina up also when you're taking this exam. I remember going through it, you kind of get a little tired after about 3 or 3.5 hours. You've got to, what do they say? Fourth quarter, be ready for it. Get those memory muscles up, because you're going to be, 4 hours with 135 questions will definitely be a little taxing on you. So let's move on here to the next slide. Again, this is some details on the, these are a few details on the exam. What I want to focus in on here is calculator policy. You're allowed to take, those specific HP and Texas Instruments calculators. That's all you're allowed to have. Calculator, one piece of scratch paper. That's it. So are there a lot of formulas that you needed? There are some calculations, but I wouldn't say it's heavy formula driven. It's more, questions around strategy and things like that. Not a lot of computation, some present value and things like that. But again, there's the hours to study. And then you are allowed to take it 2 ways, either a Pearson View Center, or you can take a Proctor U. You can take it with a camera where a proctor watches you for 4 hours. And you can do it in your office, at home, wherever's more comfortable for you. So we have those options for you. So just finishing up the formal presentation here. Here are your resources. I would strongly suggest to contact me or Carrie. We also want to bring, invite you to ask as many questions here in the Q&A feature. If that's not available for you right there, just write a message in our chat. But we're going to open it up for about 5 or 6 minutes here. Please ask all your questions in the Q&A feature there, so we can answer them live and online here, so you can get ready to enroll right when you get off the call. So we get some questions here on, we tend to get a lot of questions here on after you enroll and after you complete the certification. So there will be some CE required. Every 2 years you would renew that. So basically, once you pass the exam, you then pay a certification fee of $395. That will hold you off for 2 years. And then after that 2-year period, you renew, and you pay a membership and recertification fee, a base membership charge of $895, and that will keep that certification going as long as you want to maintain that certification every 2 years. So that's you need 40 hours every 2 years. So you can attend conferences. There are other ways in which you can get that certificate, get that continuing education, other than just going to conferences and our online education. There are other designations that will overlap with that as well. So we also have some question here about Vance about how it marketed to the CPWA to prospective clients.
Very actively. So in our conversations with potential clients, I will identify the fact pattern and profile of the estate to determine which of the many different advanced planning strategies the estate is eligible for. And I will share with them that I'm one of the certified private wealth advisor practitioners in the country. I believe there are around 2,800 folks with that designation. I don't know if that number, okay, I'm getting a head nod.
That sounds about
breaking
right.
news, this just in. But of the 300,000 some financial advisors, and that number differs depending on what you define as a financial advisor, but roughly 1% of us have that designation. And I explain the areas that are focused on largely with family dynamics, advanced estate and tax planning, and the investment management, and identify that the education pursuant to the designation allows us to be fluent in different estate, tax, and so forth planning strategies, even though we're not CPAs and we don't file tax returns and we're not estate planning attorneys. We are fluent in the respective language. And oftentimes, Gray, a potential family that hires us to review all of the planning that they've had done thus far will share with us that they've had a long-term relationship with their advisor. The average tenure of our client's advisor before they come on board here is 27 years. So it's a long time. It's a long-term relationship. And at a flat cost, we review everything in that estate and we identify the planning gaps that exist. And many times we start tabula rasa. It's completely clean slate. What strategies are you eligible for that you don't have? And in many cases, the families look at the team and they go, wow, we had no idea that we could even use any of these strategies because we've had the same advisor for a long time. We've had the same CPA for a long time. We've had the same estate planner for a long time. And we were just unaware that we could leverage different charitable planning vehicles to foster familial unity. We've never heard of a family heritage statement. We didn't realize that we can incorporate these different types of advanced trust planning to achieve certain outcomes, to minimize taxes, and really keep the family from fighting over the assets in the estate. Because what often happens is the very thing that's supposed to serve as security, which is the asset base or the wealth in a family, can often be very disruptive. So in conversations with clients that are referred to us or folks I might meet on planes, I know that sounds interesting and unusual, but I fly a ton to meet with clients, and we have 5 families that have come on board this year that I've met on planes, oddly enough. But I share that there are strategies that they are eligible for that might not come up in conversation with their current planning team.
Well, that's great. No, I mean, that's great. You can acquire clients like that, but when you can be able to have that, when you are able to have those intelligent conversations, I can see why they want to be a client, because you have that wealth of information.
Gray, there's another aspect of this, having consulted financial advisors for so long, and with a hat tip to the concession and realization that much of the investing world has largely become commoditized, right? How can financial advisors position themselves and their firms to bring maximum value in the ever commoditized retail investing world? And the CPWA is one way to do that, because a lot of folks out there are financial advisors. A fewer number of those financial advisors are certified financial planners or have other designations. But very specifically, the certified private wealth advisor designation delineates to the public that you have the expertise in the planning strategies and solutions that are pain points for them. And many of these people realize that they're pain points. They just don't know that the strategies are there as solutions. And you touched on charitable planning, for example. One of the first things that we do when a family onboards is look at the last 3 to 5 years of tax returns. And I can often see whether there's a pattern of charitable intent, or we'll simply ask if you're pre-liquidity event and you want to retain as much of your wealth as possible and bring your family members in, we might be able to freeze values on some aspects of the estate and or business. We might be able to gift part of the business or other assets in the estate to a charitable planning vehicle. Most of these folks aren't looking to do that for a tax deduction, but there's that added benefit of the tax deduction while we are going through a liquidity event. And it also serves as a way to foster family unity, because if matriarch and patriarch eventually transition to the spiritual side, if you will, they know that the charitable trust or the charitable vehicle, if it's a donor advised fund, or maybe it's one of several other types of vehicles, maybe a true foundation, for example, they know that the family can continue to foster that legacy and to make a meaningful impact on the charities that that family wants to support, which can often change when we look at generations 2 and 3. So I just wanted to point that out, because the designation really helps advisors position themselves in a way that they can earn the seat at that metaphorical family table of being the most trusted advisor.
Absolutely. Trusted advisor. Absolutely. That's the term. And you also mentioned tax returns. There's no more telling statement of somebody's financial picture or outlook than their tax returns. And you can tell a lot about a person's behavior, their net worth, things like that. So, that's a big part of the Cpwa as well. You'll learn how to interpret financial statements and or more income, income tax returns as well. So that's great. Well, Vance, you're absolutely fantastic. We loved having you on here. We're going to wrap this up a little because we're a few minutes over. Actually, we have 2 more questions. I think I can get these pretty quickly. Work and education. You do need 5 years of financial services experience. If you have any questions on that, please give us a call. And undergraduate degree, 4-year bachelor's degree, or other designations such as the CFP, the CHFC, the RMA, the CMA, and the Cpwa or Cpa, I believe, are the other designations that you can have if you don't have an undergraduate degree. And then one other question: do CE courses for Cpwa and CFP overlap? There is some overlap. We do have a relationship with CFP where there will be self-reporting. I know a lot of folks who tend to get their Cpwa have a CFP already. So we do have a good relationship with them, and we can help with that as well. So we're just a few minutes over the half-hour mark here. Again, Vance, thank you very much. Wonderful to have a practitioner on here to really talk about their lives and how they really felt like the Cpwa has helped their career, their practice, and their life.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thanks. All right, everybody. Again, reach out to us with any questions and have a wonderful day.